I've read some comments that, ASO or the tour, are the same thing, is trying to Pogacar proof the route. We heard that every year. After a couple of tours, they would say, they're going to look at this. They're designing it to work against Postal and against Armstrong. Listen, none of that shit matters. I used to always joke that, look, if they showed up and said, we're going to do 22 days of criteriums in and around Paris, well, you just got to figure out a way to win. Tadej Pogacar, you're not anti-proof. You're not, no. He's going to figure it out, you would have to think. But that conversation and that discussion is pointless. There's just the best riders show up, they prepare for the route that they see, and it's the tour. And 99 times out of 100, the best man wins. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast. We're talking about the 2025 Tour de France course reveal. Now, for those that maybe don't know, the parent company of the tour is called ASO. They've owned the tour forever, seemingly. But every October, they reveal the route around the next year's race. And there's always a lot of mystery around it. And by the way, if you don't know, yes, I get this question a lot. Does the course change every year? Yes, it absolutely changes every year, very much so. And so in October, which we just had, they revealed a new route. And it's obviously a big deal for the riders, the directors, the teams, strategy. But it's also a big deal for the country, right? People getting fans of cycling or little communities in and around France, just knowing that the Tour de France is going to come through their town, which is a big damn deal. We're going to get into all that action. I am joined by Johan Brunel, right over there. And I don't know. Where are you, Johan? Madrid?
In Madrid. It's sunny Madrid right now.
Good. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by George Hincapie. It looks like he's recovered from the hurricanes and he's down in his wine cellar. So all is well.
Good to be back. I missed you guys. And I'm excited to talk about the Tour de France. Lance, how many Tour de France presentations did you go to, you and Johan? I know you didn't go to the first one, but after that, how many did you go to?
I think we went to one.
Only one?
Oh, no, Lance, speak for yourself. I went to
No, I think I only went to one.
We together, we went to one, to the 2004, I think, the 100th anniversary.
It was one of those things. You get done with the season. You kind of come home back to the States in August or September, and just to turn back around and go back to Paris. Having said that, because I went to one, right? And I don't know how many I did, but certainly those peak years, they always wanted us to come back and be there. I would say that's a regret. I mean, it's crazy to not honor the event and go sit there. But as I sit here at 53 years old, I have a lot more thoughts about shit like that. But I only went to one. And speaking about that also, it didn't sound like too many of the favorites. It sounds like they've adopted our strategy of saying, hey, it's the off season. I think I'm done thinking about cycling, talking about cycling, looking at cycling. I'm going to sit out. You didn't have any of the GC favorites there necessarily, from what I could tell. So, but good question, George. A little bit of business. Today's show brought to you by Zwift. So Zwift just released the Zwift ride. Now, y'all know, I pride myself on being an outdoor kitty. Well, I have learned and I have partly become an indoor kitty. The Zwift ride has helped it. It is their all new smart bike that is changing the indoor kitty game and making it easier and more affordable than ever before to get started riding indoors. Now, still hot here in Austin, but it's going to cool off before we know it. And I will be inside on my Zwift ride. The bike is ultra quiet, super easy to set up. You just need one tool. It's this cool little thing. It's called the frame key. And the first time I saw the bike, I was like, what is this? And it's this key that snaps in the seat tube and it adjusts everything, right? Seat height, reach, it adjusts the whole bike. And then it snaps right back in the frame and you never lose it. And that also means that anybody in the house can ride the Zwift ride. all about adjustability. You get a special deal on this thing, $1299.99. That's 1 penny less than $1,300. $1299.99. All you got to do is head on over to Zwift.com. That's Zwift.com. Been loving all the ads are running during football. You've been seeing this, George? I know you watch a lot of football, but I'm like, shit. I got a lot of indoor kiddies. I mean, I'm buying ads on football games. Also, be sure to check out our rides, our WEDU rides. You got WEDU Wednesday and Suffer Sunday. I'll be hopping on those sooner than later. As soon as the temperature here in Austin drops, I don't know, maybe below 90.
I'm joining today, by the way.
Oh, you are? Good.
WEDU Wednesday.
Oh, is today Wednesday? Yeah, today is Wednesday. Shoot. Also today brought to you by Roka. Rob and his crew, based here in our hometown of Austin, Texas, have completely reinvented this space. Performance glasses, chillin', casual, cool glasses, and also prescription glasses. By the way, the technology across all three of those categories is the same. The best lenses on the market, no slip earpieces. The thing I love about my readers, of course, they're right here, and I joke about it all the time, but it's not a joke. I have them in, I have multiple pairs here. Look, I mean, these are the ones I brought from the house. These stay at my desk all the time. Like, I have to have them everywhere. Simply incredible. The thing I love about my reading glasses is the hinge, so I can keep them on my shirt, don't lose them, walk around, bend over.
I noticed those lenses are getting a little bit thicker also. You're getting a little bit more.
Well, you know, I talked about it on our Ironman coverage a couple of days ago, George. Had you listened to that show, clearly you did not. Because people have tracked this. You know, how blind is Lance getting? I have leveled out at the 2.0s, so they're not getting thicker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I partly don't want to go. I just feel like this is, you know what? We're getting off subject here. All right, let's talk about Roka. They are unbelievably lightweight, and they do never slip. Y'all know I sweat my face off and everything else. Simply incredible. Also work with the special forces, which I totally love. The Move listeners get 20% off. Just go to Roka, ROKA.com. That's Roka.com. Enter the code THEMOVE at checkout. That gets you 20% off. All right, let's talk about the Tour de France. This is, I have to confess something. You know, I too get sick of talking about cycling and thinking about cycling. And I didn't even know that. I didn't even know they revealed. You guys, we got on the group. I got the group text yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, I missed that," which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice because then I was interested and curious. I was like, "Wow, I got to go check this out." But look, we'll break down all the thoughts. But I like the course overall, Johan. I mean, I know you get way more granular on these things, but I like it. Can I just say one thing before we get into it? And I'm just going to get this out of the way, because we got this question a lot way back in the day. I've read some comments that, ASO or the Tour are the same thing, is trying to Pogacar proof the route. We heard that every year after a couple of tours. They was, they're going to look at this. They're designing it to work against Postal and against Armstrong. Listen, none of that shit matters. Right? I used to always joke that, look, if they showed up and said, we're going to do 22 days of criteriums in and around Paris, well, you just got to figure out a way to win. Tadej Pogacar, you're not anti-proof. You're not. No, he's going to figure it out. You would have to think, but that conversation and that discussion is pointless. There's just the best riders show up. They prepare for the route that they see, and it's the Tour, and 99 times out of 100, the best man wins. And
yeah,
one time was never mind.
It's first of all, it's a 100% French Tour, so no other countries. That's been a while. I think it's the first time in the last 5 or 6 years that they don't go to another country. And I think what's different to other editions or the last few editions is that it's back to the traditional Tour de France. Like the first part is like riding into it. I would say flattish stages, no mountain stages, and the first mountain stage is only on stage 12. That's really late. So that's back to the old days. And I agree, there's always a big discussion of, okay, it's good for this guy, it's good for this. Doesn't matter. Strongest guy with the strongest teams win the Tour de France without bad luck. And this is going to be the same thing again. I think it's quite mountainous. There's about the same amount of vertical meters as this year, like in 53,000 meters, which is very similar to this year. This year, the difference is that one of the time trials is a mountain time trial. That's going to be interesting to see. So you can say it's a time trial and it's a mountain stage at the same time. But other than that, I think I like it. I like the way it's designed.
Yeah. Well, also, it's a big change from the previous 2 year starts where we had first stages of 3,000 meters plus the climbing. So what happens there is a lot of GC battles going on in the first stage already, and a lot safer because there's some guys that are just starting those first stages going, I just need to make it to the finish line. The difference this year is it's going to be a mass sprint, super chaotic. Northern France, we all know how small and technical the roads are. I mean, anytime you race near the Belgian border, there's going to be a lot of chaos. It's going to be super stressful for these teams. So there's going to be a big battle, huge battles for position, safety. I think a lot of the teams are going to have to really think hardly on who they bring to the Tour to keep their GC guys safe because of this first week of the Tour de France. So in that sense, it's a lot different than the last 2 years. And I think very exciting as well.
But they have also sprinkled in some days where Johan, you said the first uphill finish or the first big mountain finish is on, it's 12 days in. I think they've done a nice job sprinkling in some of these days where you have to pay attention. And this isn't a tour that you can quote unquote ride into. I mean, these are days where if you get caught out or if you're not ready, you're going to lose time. They're very difficult. Which I love doing that. And to your point, George, with these early stages, at that part of the world, even though it is July, weather can still be an issue. The wind certainly can be an issue.
Wind definitely. The wind
can be very windy. We've had I remember the days we started up there. In fact, George, the whole story of, I remember that day where the no chain story came from. That day with weather was terrible. It's like, yeah, are we sure it's July? Like, you just never know. It's kind of end of the earth up there.
Yeah, this in 2024, there was no north of France at all. And next year's Tour de France is going to be very heavily in the north and in Bretagne. I agree, George. It's going to have an influence on who the teams select for their teams to support their leaders. I think you need to have really strong guys. Anyways, Visma and UAE and Soudal, to name the teams of the three favorites for the Tour. They have their homework done and they have their necessary guys to support their leaders. But
but do you take a look at it? Like, would you take a look at it and be like, well, maybe we bring one or two less climbers because the first real mountain stage is until stage 12 and we have to get through. We all know how chaotic the first week of the Tour de France is. So I think in a lot of ways, some of these teams are going to have to put a lot of emphasis on, the classic guys to get these GC guys to the finish line safely. That's going to be a huge factor in this first week of the Tour.
Yeah, because especially, a part of the difficulty of the stage is I think the stress factor is going to be important, and you can preserve your leader from the stress by putting an extra two really big guys next to him. That's gonna be a big factor. But I do think though that it's always going to be the mountains that decide. And I think that in this year's tour, we have a few mountain stages that I like. Hotakam is back after a long time. This is a really
we like that.
Yeah.
So by the way, similar to 2000, that was the first uphill finish. So a bit of a replica there.
Exactly. Yeah, and terrible weather, by the way.
Terrible weather.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the day after the uphill time trial in Peragude, and then the day after Super Bagnères. So that climb. I think it's 30 something years ago that this climb was in the Tour. I think Greg LeMond took the yellow jersey off Bernard Hinault. I'm not mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, it's Tour of 86.
Wow.
And is Hautacam where Lance crashed at the bottom or not?
Oh,
No.
Which one was that one?
Who's already done?
It was already done. Okay. It's close. Isn't that close by though, at least?
Yeah, they're close by.
Yeah. It's just a different turn on the way, but I thought for some reason it was Hautacam.
It's in the same valley. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you talking about crash? I didn't crash.
Yeah, and then interesting thing also, the Ventoux is back.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Thank you. I mean, we've talked about this. I think the tour, I think every edition has to have one of these iconic, whether it's Alpe d'Huez or Ventoux, or it's been a minute. When is the last time the Tour de France did Mont Ventoux?
Well, it's not so long ago. Wout van Aert won, but it was not finished.
It's been 4 or 5 years.
He did the Ventoux twice, but there was not a mountaintop finish. So this is different. This is going to be it's flat, and then just one mountain. So
talk about that, Johan. I think in 2009 we did a similar stage where it was flat. I mean, let's be real. There's no dead flats in that area. I mean, there's a lot of 2-3K climbs rolling up and down, very windy as well. I know the last time that I rode it, 2009, I believe we arrived at the bottom of Mount Ventoux with like 30 guys because of the wind and the echelons and the unexpected stuff that can happen before the climb. People are thinking, oh, it's a flat stage leading up to Ventoux. That's all that matters. Not necessarily, because if there's lots of winds, small roads, we've seen it before. There could be a lot of splits in the peloton before the Ventoux, which will make it very tough for a lot of these climbers.
And extreme heat.
Correct.
Yeah, it can be very hot.
Yeah. One thing I've seen also, I mean, not that it matters, because I think that Pogačar is a different rider. But there are a few parts that Pogačar has been in trouble in the past. For example, the Vingegaard was better there than Pogačar. I think he actually dropped him, and then he came back in the downhill. And then also the very difficult Col de la Loze, where Pogačar had this. He lost 8 minutes. He had a complete crisis. That's not going to happen anymore, I think. But
and we're doing the other side of Col de la Loze, or they're doing the other side, correct? As opposed to when Pogačar cracked, I believe. Yeah. Which I did that side this summer, and it's, I mean, extremely hard. It's I think one of the longest climbs you can do in the Alps. It's 26 kilometers long, 6.5% average. Not only that, but before the climb, I think you had like a 7K climb just leading up to that area. We've never done it. We've only climbed up to Courchevel, but the climb that goes beyond Courchevel, I can tell you it's very, very steep. There's some 14% sections wide open. I was super impressed with how hard that climb was.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have 3 stages in the Pyrenees, 2 in the Alps. That's it. The Central Massif this year is a bit, not that important. Only 2 stages in the middle of France. And what I've seen, guys, I don't know if you, but as a cyclist and as a team manager and as a staff member, when you see this map, I think I'm calling it the Tour de Transfer. If you look at the map, you see all these stages and you see all these little tiny lines. Those are all transfers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
They really are. I just pulled the map up, Johan. There's, yeah. I mean, there's at least 10.
Yeah, not a lot.
Which is a complete nightmare for the riders, certainly the riders, but especially the staff, just getting, I don't know how many of these. Maybe the last one they take the TGV, but most of these are drives. Like, we have a lot of folks. If you're looking at the map, it's the sort of the thin line between. You'll see them on there.
Yeah, so obviously that's hard on the body, and on the staff especially. But I think it's quite balanced. I think there's a bit of everything. Personally, what would you guys have wanted to see different? If you can choose one thing or add one thing to this course, what would you guys have wanted to see different?
Look, we talk about this all the time, and I especially hammer on this. I don't understand why they don't do it. But I love the team time trial.
Oh man, he took mine.
At some point, the team time trial has to come back.
Agreed.
Look, I mean, we're all sitting here all manning each other. Like it's beautiful to watch. The favorites love it. I think you talk about team structure and who you bring to a tour. I mean, that you will completely change your lineup and roster based on a team time trial. Like it is, especially, well, if you're going back to our generation, they were long and the time losses could potentially be real. Like you had to think about that. And if you were a bad team, or if your team was just not great at the team time trial, you were just knowing that you were going to lose time. Whereas we were looking at this like, oh, this is free time. Like this is just time somebody just said, okay, guys, you got 2 minutes. Like, because it counts for, at least in our day, counted for individual classification. But I think it's such a beautiful event. I think it really highlights technology. It truly highlights the strength of a team, the way they work together. There's strategy in and around the way team time trials can be run. We may never see it again, frankly. They might not ever bring it back. But you know what? Let's start the campaign right here on the Move.
I like it. I agree. I like the route, Johan and Lance. It's cool that it's all in France. I like that it starts in northern France, super technical. I like that the first stage is 99.9% going to be a big sprint, which will make the guy who wins it, a sprinter, will be in the yellow jersey, which I haven't seen that in a few years. I do miss the team time trial. In fact, we had our cohort, Victor Hugo Pena, down here in Greenville, where we made history with Victor. We helped him be the first Colombian ever to be in the yellow jersey. And he actually told a story, which is typical Johan. You know, Johan comes in the room the night before the team time trial, 2003. I remember I actually had a really good day that day. It was the first time in our history, I think, of time trials, Lance was actually asking me to slow down. I don't know if you remember that, Lance. But Victor ended up getting the yellow jersey. But the night before, Johan walked in his room, and typical Johan just wants to feel out his riders, make sure they're focused. He goes, you know, you could be the first Colombian ever to be in the yellow jersey tomorrow, and you probably will be. And here's Victor telling the story, just like a full inside panic attack. Johan staring him in the face and going, okay, Johan. Okay, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you called it. You knew it was coming, and you know what a special week to participate that with Victor. And I know we all remember that quite fondly.
Let's do a little bit of business before, because I want to go back to the sprint stages, because I have a question here, because I saw some reports that I just I need your intel on, George. Today's show also brought to you by Ketone IQ. Hey, look at that. It's that time of the day. Get this thing open. Right? Look at this. See this? My Ketone IQ. This is a daily occurrence. George, you had your ketones yet?
You know what? I forgot. I was going to have one right before the show, but I'm having one
There's
after
a peach.
the show.
This is
ride. I know. I like the flavor.
A little hint of peach. It's actually very pleasant. But here's the reality. We often hear that fasting and exercise are good for the brain. These guys, HVMN, launched the world's first drinkable ketone. And look at me. I'm like, I just had one shot of Ketone IQ and I'm tweaking out. That's how good it is. They launched the world's first drinkable ketone in 2017. This is their latest innovation on ketones, better effectiveness, taste, and cost. They also, speaking of some of these teams, have a really key partnership with Visma Lease Bike, doing a lot of research in and around ketones for performance recovery. I think we're just starting to really test how useful ketones can be. It's exciting. 30% off your first subscription order plus a free 6-pack when you use the link ketone.com/themove. That's ketone.com/themove. Also today brought to you by AG1. Talk about things that happen on a daily basis. There is no day that goes by, whether I am at home or traveling, which is a lot, that AG1 is not a part of my routine. If I'm at home, I've got my bag of it that sits in the fridge. If I'm on the road, I've got my travel packs. We'll get to that in a second. Really, it's all about taking control of your health. I literally drink it every day. I initially gave it a try because I was tired of looking at so many supplements and trying to figure out which things to do. I also knew that I'm just really shitty when it comes to doing all that stuff you're supposed to do, like the food groups. I was really bad about vegetables and fruit. Still am. but I found a little hack, and that's AG1. I drink my AG1 in the morning, let a little time pass. Then I start my day, have a little coffee. Been a total game changer. Also, a ton of research being done over with the crew over at AG1, looking into just how effective the product is, and also know that it's safe. They take that very seriously, that everything you're putting in your body, you can trust. So if a comprehensive solution is what you need from your from your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs. Yes, that's 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Head on over to drinkag1.com/themove. That's drinkag1.com/themove. They also sent me, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this, but I got a package yesterday with some omegas. So I don't know what's kind of nice. Last one today, also brought to you by OneSkin. Been a minute since I have seen you, George. It's nice to see that nothing has changed, right? You're still the same. Clearly you've been hammering the OneSkin.
Definitely.
Right? All this stuff that as we get older, we worry about, like dry skin, wrinkles, just sagginess, all this stuff. Glad to see that it still hasn't affected you at 50, whatever years old that you are, with all the stress. Think about that. You've had a lot of stress. You've had storms. You had the big ride. You had to manage people. Yeah. You must have been hammering that OneSkin
every night.
See, there it is, folks. Yeah. And in all honesty, like, I don't think, except for George, most of us are not that concerned with our aesthetics. It just is what it is. We've spent our lives suffering and grinding. So it's, but the cool thing about OneSkin is they've got this scientifically proven compound called OS1. And now it is proven to decrease lines and wrinkles, boost hydration, and help with the thinning skin that often comes with age. Now, don't just take my word for it. They've got over 4,000, check that, 4,000 5-star reviews for their full line of face, body, sun, and travel size products. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using the code THEMOVE at oneskin.co. That's oneskin.co. And that code of the move gets you 15% off. All right, back to just a quick question on the sprint thing, because I know, George, I know you were just with Cav. Did he leave it out? Am I making this up, or did he leave out? He sort of teased out the possibility that he might do another tour. Please tell me I misread that.
I read it also, and when I was with him the last 2 weeks. He was here for my Fondo. We went to an event out in Vegas, and then we went to Disney World as well. And there was no indication that he wanted to continue racing next year. He's got a lot going on. I mean, he's all over the place and excited about his future. So, not that I am aware of.
I believe the quote. What was the quote? Never say never. We might recruit you to call the bat line there.
We also saw that Rigo was going to become a professional soccer player. So I think, a lot of things are said and just taken either out of context or taken a lot more serious than they tend to be.
Well, this was a quote from Mark Cavendish. The only reason I'm talking about this is because it was his actual quote, which I
had no indication from him that he would want to come back. So I'd be shocked.
His wife, if she read that, some bitch is out in a pup tent in the backyard right now.
He's on his way to Singapore actually for the criterium. So
that's his last race, right? Ever.
Well, maybe not.
Is he on? Is it Singapore or Japan this weekend? I'm confused, but he's going all over the place.
Maybe Japan is finished already. I think it was Singapore.
He's doing one in Japan also.
It's organized by ASO, right?
Yeah. He's doing one in Japan as well. So I don't know if that's this weekend or what. So he's got some events left, but he's been enjoying life.
That's good.
Yeah.
Wow. Anything else stand out with the other? Johan, have you seen any? I'm always curious because the route is it really is a surprise. And I'm thinking of all of those years, like we didn't know. There are sort of internet sleuths that kind of figure out where the route is going because they get ahead of it. They figure out where blocks of hotel rooms have been secured, and so they can cobble it together. But the route is a surprise. The announcement's a surprise. And so there's always these comments after. Have you seen where have sort of these big, Tade, Jonas, Remco, Primoz, have they commented or given any feedback on what they think of the route?
No, not really. The only thing that surprised me, but this was before the Tour de France announcement already, is that we're talking about the podium of this year, right? So Pogacar, Vingegaard, and Remco. And I would say normally Primoz is part of the four. We said that before he has kind of hinted that he may not do the Tour de France next year. He said, well, I'll try to race everywhere where Pogacar doesn't start, which, I don't think I think it's really a smart move. If
your team is happy winning bike races that are not in France or not the Tour de France, and you just witnessed the season that Tadej Pogacar had, and you're getting towards the end of your career, he has to be getting towards. His age doesn't lie. And you're saying, look, this is, if they're cool, if I win a Giro or a Vuelta or whatever else, well, you just avoid the guy. Because what we saw this year was, we've said it, arguably the greatest season of all time.
Yeah, we hope that we don't witness any of those horrific crashes that we had in 2024. We hope that all these guys show up to the Tour de France with perfect preparation and, not dealing with these extreme injuries that we saw last year. Hope for a lot less of that.
And then, the question is, what we've seen this year in the Tour de France. The question is, what if Vingegaard has the ideal season? What's that going to be different to his level? How's that difference between both of them are going to be smaller? Then another thing I've seen is that, usually Vingegaard doesn't say much, not about the route, not about his program. I have seen that Pogacar is going to focus on classics in the beginning of the season and then do the Dauphiné Tour de France. Dauphiné Tour de France. So,
when you say classics, are we talking about another Tour of Flanders, or is there even a hint at Paris-Roubaix?
No, we're talking about Milan-San Remo Tour of Flanders. Yeah. No Paris-Roubaix, but Flanders, yeah.
Yeah, good for him.
Good for cycling.
No, it is. It is. You're Wout van Aert and Matthew Van Der Poel and Pedersen, and you're like, oh shit, this kid's going to come to Tour of Flanders and roll up on us and just show us how the game is played. It's good for cycling.
But most importantly, so no Giro for him, and he has hinted that he may consider the Vuelta. I think that probably in his mind, that's a Grand Tour he wants to tick off as soon as possible to be able to say, okay, I've won all three. I think he's capable of doing it. It's not, the question is, how is it possible to combine Tour de France and Vuelta and then the World Championships in Rwanda, which are the hardest of the last 25 years, I think. But anyway, that's stuff to discuss later, I guess.
Yeah.
But, we're sitting here, and if you look at the podium of this year, I personally, I don't know what you guys think. I personally can't think of anybody else who can approach the podium.
No, it's going to be a minute. I think we will say that we will be sitting here 1 year from now saying the very same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not that Pogacar came out of nowhere, but he rose quicker than some would have imagined. You could see that, but somebody's got to rise fast and far to catch up to these three.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, the guy who's closest is Primoz, but I don't think he's really I think he can do third. Second would probably be a stretch. If you look at this year's Tour de France, do you guys remember who was fourth in the Tour de France?
Don't ask these questions. That's not fair.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Who was it?
João Almeida.
Almeida, that's right. Yeah.
19,
Boy,
19, 19 minutes
that was
down.
on the tip of my tongue, by the way.
19 minutes down. So Joao Almeida working for Pogacar, 19 minutes down was fourth. So there's a huge gap between the first three and the rest.
Yeah.
I think the thing that sticks with me from last year's tour is I think people overall thought, well, of course Vingegaard, of course he can't win, or of course it was too far to come back from the injuries that he sustained in this awful crash in the spring. All that's true. The thing that I just shake my head at was he was performing at a higher level, even with the crash and with the injuries and the setback and the recovery. He still performed at the highest level of his career and got beat down. Yeah. So then, I mean, I don't know. You're going to do plenty of shows on this, Johan, for outcomes. Like the odds here are. I mean, that's we know what those are. I mean, there's just no.
Well, there's always the situation also, guys, that you kind of have to prepare to be as good as you can because it's 3 weeks and you never know what's going to happen. There's the first week is dangerous. If you say, okay, well, I can't win, and then in week one there's a massive crash and Pogacar crashes out,
right?
You need to be ready, to fill that gap.
Ooh. Yeah, and let's not forget.
But nobody wants to see that.
I know, but
I mean, if that's how we're setting it up, so that it could be exciting if somebody gets hurt through a crash. Well, that sucks too. Like you want a heavyweight fight with healthy fighters.
You don't want to see that happen with these guys crashing. But also, let's not forget the sport just continues to evolve. These guys every year are breaking their PRs, are seeing better numbers than they ever have. So it's a question of, okay, did Pogacar improve that much so maybe he's plateaued? Probably not, but perhaps Vingegaard's got room for improvement. He saw his best numbers this year, so he's still improving. Obviously, Remco, we talked about him last year. You guys were saying probably an outsider for the podium. I was kind of, on his bandwagon saying that he would get a podium, but he's in that spot now. He's in the podium position spot. So he's just going to have a lot more confidence coming into next season and obviously going to keep improving as well. And when he's good, there's not very many people in the world that can beat him. So we'll see how much these guys continue to improve.
And the other thing, I mean, we'll do a special show on transfers and really how 2025 shaping up. That also changes things. And I haven't followed that. Johan, you follow it better than anybody. So, but we'll talk about that in the trades and transfers show soon to be happening.
One last thing, guys. I'm gonna make a prediction. We're gonna see a record broken, an old record. Especially because it's just the Ventoux at that stage. The Ventoux record is going to be broken.
Yeah, I would think. Who has that record?
2000, I think. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. Probably Ivan Mayo.
I was thinking you would say Ivan Mayo.
Yeah, was an uphill time trial. Was it? I think it was 2004.
I don't know, but I'm with you that we're certainly going to. If we saw what they did to the times this year. By the way, if you take a bike from what they would ride in 2025, just the bike from 2025 to 2004, you would think, of course, they're going to break that. But, the Ventoux is also weird. I mean, you can have the conditions up top can be very, very windy. They're so prohibitive and so restricting. Like but yes, on paper, you would think somebody beats it by 5 minutes.
Not only the bike, but obviously you probably meant that, but tires, they choose their tires daily on different occasions. And they know exact rolling resistance for certain pavements. Their clothing, they're saving watts everywhere they can nowadays, as opposed to where back in our day, it was not like that at all.
It's funny. I said earlier in the show, I referenced a question that I get a lot. Was it in and around, does the route change every year or is it always the same? But one other question I get a ton of is, what's the hardest climb in France? And of course, everybody has a different answer to this. My answer is very consistent. I think Mont Ventoux is the hardest climb in France, therefore in the Tour de France. That's just my answer. And the reason I give is because, it's obviously steep, it's long, but there are no switchbacks. All of the climbs that we've talked about the most famous one there is, of course, Alpe d'Huez with 21 switchbacks. You can manage a climb if you know you've got switchbacks where the gradient goes from 9 or 10% to 3 or 4% in the switchback. It just gives you a little bit of relief. For those that have ever done Ventoux from the proper side, you will know. I mean, there is no relief. It is 10% the entire time. There's no switchbacks. And so therefore, I think that makes it the hardest climb in all of France.
Yeah, it's a special climb. I always compare it as two climbs in one. You know, you have the first 10 kilometers, which are steep in the forest, and then you get to Chalet Renard, and you think, okay, this is now evens out a little bit, and then you have the wind, and it's all open. Mm-hmm. And it's not 10% at the end, the last 7K.
No, but
it feels like 10%.
It feels like it, yeah.
You hit a wall, you know. So it's a very special climb, unique climb.
And mentally, call it the last third of the climb, seems like it goes on forever because you can see the station at the top. I mean, the mountain is, for those that haven't seen Ventoux, I mean, it's totally bald at the top. You can see the station. I think it's a weather station. And you just kind of keep doing these turns and you're like, it must be just right around the next turn. And it just goes and goes and goes. Mentally, it's a total mind fuck when you're in that section where it's open. And then if you did throw in the wind, it's a beast.
Yeah. Agree.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, cool. Thank you for reminding me, Johan, that ASO released the route. That was awesome. Any other things? We will, as I said, we're going to have the trades and transfer stuff. I believe we're going to do an up and comer show, which is I think Johan's favorite show of the year, because this is
season highlights also.
Season highlights, up and comers. Have you got some up and comers? Just don't name any of them because people got to wait for that. But have you got some people in mind?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
We know. Yeah, good. All right. Well, anything else, fellas?
Till next time.
That's it.
George, what are you going to do? George, you're going to go out and do, so you're going to go do a big ride today, or?
No, I might go do an hour and a half with my son, but nothing big. You?
Doesn't he have school?
He's online school now.
So, that's when you know. See, that's when you know you're good. That's when you know.
Yeah, he's homeschooled.
Hang on. That's when you know that they know that you're good. Like that.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, this geometry shit. Like this kid's not ever going to use this. He's never going to use.
Well,
this.
He's still in school.
He's not. I mean, maybe we should do like a, geography class so he just knows where the fuck he's going to go all over the world.
Yeah. He's off to the Olympic.
We should do a little economics class because he's going to make some paper.
He's off to the Olympic Training Center where we first met, Lance. So he's going there next week.
I will never forget it.
Yeah.
Why is he going there? And by the way, it's almost November.
It's just it's a track camp, sort of like they just want to see how good these guys can ride on the track. So I'm actually currently building up a track bike for him, which I know nothing about. So that's been interesting, and I need to get it done before next week. So that's kind of been my project.
Excuse me, you're building this track?
Well, I'm not. Getting parts. Yeah.
I don't want to ride on any track. I definitely don't want to ride on any track with the track bike that you built up.
Yeah, me neither.
100% no. I tell you, I saw a picture of him from the Fondo with his, I don't know, it was what's growing. The kid's getting good looking. I mean,
he is. Boy, yeah.
Not only are you going to just go crush people on the bike, but if that fails, I'll do some. Wow, putting you to shame, bro.
I know. I hear you. We missed you at the Fondo. Everybody was asking about you. So
well, it's nice that you say that. I've become more and more of a curmudgeon and kind of a hermit. I just can't. And by the way, look, then none of this will never change. It's my daughter's birthdays, or her birthdays. What am I trying to say here? It's her birthday weekend.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, unless she changes her birthday, which I don't think she will. It's always a problem. Also with Formula One here in Austin, so there's stuff to do. But I'm glad everybody got through safe and sound. I do have one more question. Did you change the route due to the storm? I felt like
we did. We did loops. We did.
Johan was here before, and they were explaining it to me, and I said that doesn't sound like the normal route of the Fondo. They said no. It's 20-mile loops, and I said that had to be because of storm damage, which is crazy.
Yeah, we couldn't go up into the mountains. We actually did a big fundraiser, raised almost $750,000 already for the communities that we typically ride through, because they were just destroyed. I mean, complete roads gone, houses destroyed. But we did a 30K loop from the hotel, which is awesome. I actually really enjoyed it. It's a lot more social. You can stop like every lap and wait for your friends, or your friends can wait for you. You can say hi to the family. I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm not sure I'll be able to go back to the original course just because of how much fun I thought the people had during doing it.
Silver lining. Yep. All right. Well, by the way, and we should put that up. You're still raising. I mean, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we are.
So you raised, what'd you say, 650,000?
750 almost. 750. And our goal is $1 million. So we have an open link. It's a 501c, so it goes directly to the foundation.
Well, what's the link?
Well, I can shoot it up and we'll throw it on the show. I'll send it to Gabriel.
Yeah, whoever's doing, however all this stuff works, whoever edits it, and we'll put the link maybe on the thing, and then we should do it on our socials too, so people see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Fellas, I'll see you soon.
Thank you.